I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost, you're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave, "Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave?" God bless you, and God bless this republic.
Hello, we got our normal squeak back. Still got some back there. You turn down a little more. Okay. Yeah, the kids, can you hear us there, kids? I getting loud and clear, or getting a lot of comments on the chat room. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, Scully's tuning us in on his high-speed wireless device, and that. So, well, winter was returned back here. We had a nice chilly night the other night. I think it was down to around 4.
4.
4.
Jesus, please, it was so cold.
I woke up and thought I was in Antarctica or someplace. I surely wasn't in the Sahara Desert, I'll tell you that. But Mr. T is here tonight.
And by the way, I did not listen to last week's show. I was too busy. I do not wear, nor do I own any thongs, okay? Thank you very much.
So, he come in a good humor. He didn't kill us, so...
I was expecting the worst.
I still have time.
You got a couple hours yet.
Yeah.
Let's show them.
We're started now, so if you do anything now, you're going to go live.
After the show.
Yeah, live. You see a lot of shit coming out on the news this week of stupid shit by teachers in school. And I didn't report half of what I saw. I only picked up 1 or 2 stories about the stupidity. And then there's the, what do they call it, two-faced bastard Bloomberg, who got caught with his hands in somebody's panties. Not literally, but we'll get to those stories later. And, of course, most of the news, and I didn't really dig anything up on it, a lot of news has been pertaining to how Trump is being so unpresidential and in violation of his office because he is cleaning house of 200 moles that Obama put in there just before he left office. The National Security Council, when Obama first took office, was 100. The year before he was to leave office, and they knew Trump was going to win it, he doubled the size of the National Security Council, vis-a-vis the traitor
Vindman.
Vindman and his brother, and a bunch of other people. Since now that this impeachment is over, he is cleaning house, and the Democrats are just having squirming nightmares because Trump is cleaning the moles out. And they're saying, well, you can't trust them, so you can't work with them. You can't work with them if you can't trust them. And these people are supposedly in the hierarchy where they are supposed to be the National Security Council, in which they are supposed to give or listen or implement what Trump has to say. But being as it be, they got caught with a bunch of moles and they're squirming like crazy, and at that point I gotta take a break. My voice is failing me already. So whoever wants to fire first.
I got a little ditty. This was on Breitbart News. The article was in reference to a interview on CNN by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told CNN's Christine Amanpour in an interview that she ripped up President Donald Trump's State of the Union address to get attention from the press. Pelosi said, "I had no intention of doing that when we went into the State of the Union," which I find dubious at best. She continued, "I was reading ahead. I knew what was there. I got through a third of it and I thought, this is terrible. I made a niche on a couple of pages thinking I ought to remember what's on this page. this page. Then I realized that almost every page had something in it that was objectionable, so it wasn't a planned thing. She added, one of my disappointments is the fact that with all that we have done legislatively, whether it's equal pay for equal work, raising the minimum wage, gun violence protection, issues that relate to our children, the list goes on, climate action now, we have very little press on it. And it seems if you want to get press, you have to get attention. I thought, well, let's get attention on the fact that what he said here today was not true. And with the whole no press thing, about 90%, I mean, I can think of one news source that is not anti-Trump, and that's Fox News. Everybody else is, so if they're not putting this stuff out, then maybe it's not newsworthy. So,
Or it puts them in bad light.
so I always like to read through some of the comments from people who write the comments. And the first one that popped up it just kills me. It says, Nancy, you ripped up that speech because you are an incorrigible 4-year-old in a badly decaying octogenarian skin bag. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mr. T, yeah, there was a tweet here or a chat message for you. I want to go back and see if I can get it. Yeah, for you. So the bear didn't eat the cohort thong. Yeah.
Not even close.
Okay. Yeah,
Theirs was so hibernating.
well, it's supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And, but I've been out in June or January when it wasn't real cold out, so they weren't really hibernated. I seen them. In fact, right down from our camp on the road where we get our water, the spring down there, I was down there getting water, and the township was down there doing something, and 3 bear come walking across 50 yards from me. As if I wasn't even there. Hi, bye. We're going to find the berries or some rotten meat somewhere. Anyway. Well, like I said, Mr. T's back, so it's always nice to have him. And I just can't figure out what's going on with my voice. So, who wants to open up with the first story, or you want me to do the gun shows first?
I'll do a story,
Okay.
and you can go to the gun show. This is about guns. Virginia House passes assault firearm ban, magazine size restriction. This is by Randy DeSoto from the Western Journal. Okay, Virginia House of Delegates voted on Tuesday to ban so-called assault weapons and limit the round capacity of gun magazines. House Bill 961 prohibits any person from importing, selling, transferring, manufacturing, purchasing, possessing, or transporting an assault firearm in the state of Virginia. Violation of the law would be a Class 6 felony carrying a penalty of up to 12 months in jail and a fine of up to $2,500. HB 961 passed the House of Delegates in a 51-48 vote, with all Republican lawmakers opposing it and nearly all Democrats voting for the measure. The legislation offers detailed definitions of the different types of semi-automatic guns that will be classified as assault firearms. The bill also makes it a felony to have magazines that hold more than 12 rounds. HB 961 would make tens of thousands of gun owners in Virginia criminals overnight, Republican Delegate Nick Furiatis told the Washington Examiner. This bill creates an environment where you could receive up to 12 months in jail for every magazine you have over 12 rounds, he added. At the same time, that Democrats are voting for early release programs for people convicted of first-degree murder and rape. They are criminalizing law-abiding gun owners. HB 961 will now go to the Virginia Senate, where it is expected to pass and be signed into law by Democratic Governor Ralph Northam. Republican Delegate Dave LaRocque tweeted after the vote, and just like that, Virginia House Democrats vote to make millions of Virginians surrender their property or become criminals. The article goes on. If the Senate goes along with this nonsense, the governor will sign it and the AG hearing will spend your money to defend this unconstitutional overreach. The bill is one of 8 that Northam is seeking to push through the newly Democrat-controlled legislature. Some of the governor's other proposals have passed both chambers of the legislature. Those bills include limiting handgun purchases to 1 per month, universal background checks, and a red flag law. The latter would allow any attorney for the Commonwealth or any law enforcement officer to apply for a judge's order to prohibit a person who possesses a substantial risk of injury to himself or others from purchasing, possessing, or transporting a firearm. Differences between the Senate and House of Delegates versions must be ironed out in the weeks ahead before they can go to Northam's desk to be signed into law. Last month, President Donald Trump said Democrats in Virginia are working hard to take away residents' Second Amendment rights as a massive anti-gun control rally took place in the state capital of Richmond. Northam declared a state of emergency ahead of the January 20th gun rights rally, banning firearms inside a security perimeter around the state capitol. Tens of thousands of Second Amendment advocates gathered without incident. Philip Van Cleve, president of the Virginia Citizens Defense League and organizer of the rally, told USA Today, "What Northam and Democrat legislators propose threatens Virginians' Second Amendment rights." The governor and leadership in the Democratic Party have declared war on law-abiding gun owners, and they're tired of it, Van Cleve said. It's basically people saying, "We're fed up, we've had enough." Look, they've woken up a base that's been sleeping. Purple areas will turn bright red, Van Cleve predicted. We're going to pay for this at the polls. So saith the Lord.
Yeah, there's, Winterborn had a comment, and, let's see. Wait a minute, they aren't law-abiding gun owners if they defy the law.
Yeah.
Well, new.
Yeah, well,
I just don't understand
they'd be, if they.
the legality of it, you know?
Well,
It seems like that goes against the Second Amendment, correct?
yeah, it does. It goes against the Second Amendment, it goes against the Constitution entirely, because there is what they call ex post facto, which means you cannot take and make something illegal prior to the installation of the law or passage of the law and the signing of the law becoming intact or available or on the books. So that law technically under the Constitution would only pertain to new purchases of AR-15s or magazines after the inception of that law. So the state of Virginia in itself, by passing the legislature by passing laws, is in violation of the Constitution.
That's what it sounds like, but I'm sure there's all kinds of legalese and,
Well, yeah,
and different
this-
lawyers that can...
that's the problem. They got the lawyers, they gotta make money, so they'll fight it in court and continue to fight it in court and cost the people and the states money both ways, because the state will take your taxes to defend what they do, and the other groups that are out there that are in favor of will take their and ask for donations to fight the legislation that they're putting into effect. So the people that are paying for it are you. Okay, so if you gotta pay for it, you might as well pay for it in copper and lead. If they're gonna make you a criminal, you might as well disobey the law and make yourself a good criminal. And I know I'll probably get myself in trouble with the FBI, the CIA, the ATF, and all the rest of the U.S. Marshals and Homeland Security and fucking, yeah, Zeke Hyde and the TSA and FEMA, you know. So although FEMA's got his hands full by filling up all the FEMA camps with illegals coming in there.
Well, it is simply amazing that all these concentration camps came up so fast. They put together. I think they had a plan.
They really need to, if any of that kind of stuff's going on in your area, I really wish they would get some photos or some documentation of it and start posting that
Yeah, start posting that, and if you're getting back to the Second Amendment here, if you don't want to see Pennsylvania go that way because of the governor we got, and he's got what, 2.5 years left to go on his term. So if the Virginian government does that and gets away with it without any repercussions from the people, then you can start seeing all these states that have the the communist Democrat for governor, and the legislature passing this type of legislation. And so you need to get out there and organize and start pushing for your representatives to declare your state a Second Amendment sanctuary state, which brings me to the fact that here in Pennsylvania, they are doing that very thing, and you can sign if you're within listening distance of me. Here in Crawford County, there are 4 places that I know of now that have the petitions. Double L Arms down here on the end of Franklin Pike. Tamarack Armory up here on I'm sorry. Double L Arms is on Liberty Street Extension, far in. Tamarack Armory is on Franklin Pike, about 2 miles out from town. Then the Italian Civic Club, ICC, did have, as last I knew, and Joe's Barbershop up in Cambridge Springs.
I got another quick story to go along with what you just said. As gun rights die in Virginia, 9 states could soon form pro-Second Amendment bastion. As Democratic lawmakers in Virginia chip away at Commonwealth residents' firearms rights, one bill in a southern state seeks to undo the damage and form a pro-Second Amendment bulwark across the South. Mississippi House Bill 753, sponsored by 7 Republicans in the state legislature, was introduced Monday. The bill aims to establish an interstate compact to circumvent certain federal gun laws by establishing a regional power dedicated to the defense of the Second Amendment. Part of legislation's intended purpose is to exempt certain firearms, accessories, and ammunition from overreaching federal regulation. The bill doesn't stop there, promising to declare certain federal statutes, regulations, rules, and orders unconstitutional under the Constitution of the United States and unenforceable in this compact region. Although the same idea of an interstate compact is being used to usurp the nation's electoral college by left-leaning states, this is seemingly the first instance the tactic has been used in defense of gun rights. Federal regulations thought Federal regulations that would be rendered unenforceable in the compact include those banning or restricting ownership of a semi-automatic firearm or a magazine of a firearm in any order, requiring a firearm magazine or other firearm accessory to be registered. Along with the bill's home of Mississippi, the other 8 states invited to the proposed compact are Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and West Virginia. A compact of this size would have substantial power, putting a major check on the regulatory power of Washington, D.C. If this movement is implemented in all these states, the Second Amendment sanctuary would stretch from the Oklahoma Panhandle to the Georgia coast. The bill requires 6 of the listed states to approve the measure for the interstate compact to become a reality. The legislation is missing other southern states, including Texas, Florida, and the Carolinas. Another missing state, Virginia, is unlikely to find its name on the compact anytime in the near future. Although the Commonwealth citizens have made their pro-gun position very clear, Democratic lawmakers and Governor Ralph Northam continue to shave away residents' gun rights. Restrictions on magazine sizes and so-called assault weapons are a primary focus of the state's leaders. While Democrats in Richmond work to restrict firearms, 141 counties, cities, and towns in the Commonwealth have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries, according to the Virginia Citizens Defense League. I'm going to say that again. 141 counties, cities, and towns in the Commonwealth have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries. It's safe to say that any proposed interstate compact to protect firearms rights in Virginia would die a very quick death at the hands of anti-gun leadership controlling the state. If this union, dedicated to preserving Americans' constitutional rights, is successful, it could boost momentum in a sanctuary movement revitalized by the tyrannical acts in Virginia. So, hopefully, if it starts gaining momentum, other states will start to get on board.
There has been, like you said, there has been some movement. I was reading last week, I made the comment that Venango County was ready to pass the necessary ordinances to make it a Second Amendment sanctuary county. The county commissioners are just waiting for enough signatures to come in to push it through. And so that's a step in the right direction. So we need the other 67 counties to do the same thing, although I do believe the ones down, a couple counties down around Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and
Yeah, well, I wouldn't expect Allegheny County to come on.
no.
Philadelphia is also a county on itself. Montgomery County, Delaware County,
I think what we really need to do, and I don't know the legalities of it, and I really don't care how legal this would be, but each county that wants to go that way elects a new representative and forms a new House of Representatives and throws out the charter of Pennsylvania and get rid of the communists that are down there in Harrisburg. Now, what legality steps would be taken, I don't know, but all I know is it's not going to get settled peacefully. We're going to have to start using some pushback, and I'm not talking about sitting back and waiting until they come to get your guns to push back. We need to start pushing back now. We need to find a way to fire these bastards and get them out of the office and put new people in. Now, some states have recall, which you can recall, but Pennsylvania, being a commonwealth, cannot do that. So the only thing that I can think of is have a new election and form a new government and get rid of Harrisburg. So, you want to cause trouble? There you go.
There you go. Won't there it be?
Things go bad for home invader when dad catches him in daughter's room. The world met there. Less than 2 months into the new year, and we may have just had a prime candidate for the all but official American Father of the Year award. At least that is what some on social media are saying in late reports. A North Carolina man who was subdued and led to home invader last week in his daughter's bedroom, keeping his family from harm. According to WHKY, I'm not sure, TV station or radio station, 42-year-old Jason Kane Tillman was arrested by Lincoln County Sheriff's Office on February 6th for what had reported been a failed burglary attempt. The alleged procurator has since been charged with 4 counts of felony breaking and entering and 1 felony count apiece for attempting breaking and entering into a building, larceny her building, and possession of a stolen property. The Lincoln County law enforcement officer likely would not have made the arrest, and 11 of those charges were not for the yet unnamed father who owned the burglarized residence. According to initial reports, the homeowner had been resting along his bed Thursday morning when his wife and daughter returned home from a dentist appointment. A scream in the minor's room upon her hadn't turned, brought the homeowner rushing to find his guy Tillman, who he probably tackled and held at gunpoint until authorities arrived. Good guy with the gun. Officers responded rapidly to the emergency call and already received calls about a suspicious vehicle in the area and other break-ins also in the area. It is not yet known whether Tillman will be deemed responsible for the other break-ins. However, authorities suggest the matter is still developing and further charges may soon follow. This guy Tillman was charged in 2015 with driving a license. And let's see, registration with false number. And had been incarcerated in the Harbin A. Cross Detention Center $51,000 secured bond. The alleged burglar is not scheduled to appear before this court until February 24th. As for the homeowner's family, no injuries have been reported. And better yet, the man's firearm was never discharged. Score one for the off-below good guy with a gun. In fact, while you're at it, score one for traditional masculinity as well. Because despite what those in the cultural left may believe, this father represents the embodiment of traditional masculinity. It exists much to the benefits of society's most vulnerable and should be celebrated for that reason. Tillman, on the other hand, is not a product of that historically virtuous manhood. Rather, he's a prime example of the unmotivated and misguided male manufacturer was entirely by the academics left unmooring of the cultural and traditional standards of value and morality. And if the average American were given an honest choice between these two men, and the manner in which each was made, there was no question he would choose as the proper standard. Unfortunately, deep in the weeds of perfecting, or more rarely upending, the process of which we educate and raise our young men, we entirely lost sight of the final destination we as a culture hope to reach. Chop it up for the good guys. Do that again. Wins again.
I don't know. Sounds kind of sketchy. Bad people doing good things to bad people by doing good things to good people would be bad. Oh.
Boy, somebody must have been high on something.
Yeah. I'm high on life, Daryl.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the Lord and the Lord loves me.
So you watch Scrooge and these things, I like life, and sing along. That's the music. I like life, life like me.
I'm starting to get warm.
Go faint.
Maybe.
Like gun talk.
Yeah. Gets my heart to pumping. My blood pressure just went up 10 points. And, if I pass out, just spray some cordite underneath my nose. I'll wake up.
Well, if you lean this way, I can catch you better. It's like, I'm gonna faint. Another kind of gun-related story.
Now, before you do that, since we're talking about guns, this came from Emmy. When Lon Haruchi was found not guilty at fault by Congress, I knew the game was over. Yeah, he's the bastard that shot, I can't think of her name. Shot her through the window of her cabin while she was carrying the baby. And there was only about a half-inch crack in the curtain. That's all you could see, so he...
Oh, that whole...
Yeah, up in the mountains there. God, everything... It's been so long ago, all this shit's going... is fading in the past.
That was pre-Waco.
Yeah, that was pre-Waco.
Yeah.
And you see the step up. You got pre-Waco, you got the Oklahoma bombing.
Oklahoma!
Yeah, Oklahoma. You got Waco, and then you have Leviticus being shot, and so you see the speed up of what's going on. So if a SWAT team should show up at your neighbor's house because he's a gun owner, you ought to shoot a few of them while you have the opportunity to help your neighbor out, because the more of you that do that, the more people are going to respond, and maybe, just maybe, the message will get carried to the idiots in charge, and we might still be able to save this nation, this republic. All right, I'm done. My voice gone. I'm done. I quit. Kaput. Vinny. Next body.
Students' artwork banned from display at Purchase Line. It's not purchaseline.com. Purchase Line. a 7-year-old Purchase Line School District student will have her artwork hung for the next 2 weeks in the Antique Mall east of Punxsutawney, as in Punxsutawney, PA, after her school refused to display along with the other works by her fellow students. To mark her first 100 days in school, Emery Turner made a string heart bordered with 100 empty 22 caliber shells.
Oh my.
She likes to shoot, said her mother, Samantha Turner, their Thursday night. We always shoot together. She's really a good shot. And Samantha Turner thought her daughter's idea of artwork would be cool. I think it was cool. Anyway, she showed the shape of the heart because, she showed the shape of the heart because that's the kind of girl she is. But the artwork promotes weapons, district official said, rejecting the work. She got a grader on it, Turner said. All the other students, their projects were displayed in the hall. Hers were not allowed to be there because it promotes weapons. It promotes weapons, it promotes violence.
Oh my.
Oh my. Turner said she did not want Purchase Line to be thrown under the bus, or should be, in any way, because her daughter was not disciplined for her work, and district officials were polite and nice in discussing the matter. She should have thrown on the bus. Emery's mother talked with elementary school principal Travis R. Monroe and Superintendent Sean L. Ford. We tried to have a very sensible and compassionate response to a difficult situation, Ford said this morning in Indiana County, Indiana, PA, where he was attending a county-wide in-service day for approximately 400 educators. I was very appreciative of the parents' discussion. I was very appreciative of the parents discussing this with us in a positive manner. We welcome additional discussion with them. I'm not sure how that would benefit them. Anyway. Ford had other business in plate, including another session of the district's Portrait for Graduate discussion series on Thursday night. I guess first line should have been more harsh than they were according to Turner. And I'm satisfied with the way it is to make schools react the way they do it. Emery's mother initially offered to print out a picture of her daughter's work, but I don't know if it declined, well, because it promotes weapons. Of course, Emery was rejected, Mother said. She was sad when she came from home from school. She was really bummed out and thought it was unfair that others had their work displayed and she didn't. She cried about 10 to 15 minutes. And I said we could hang it in the house. Then came another idea. Our next post is a little out of the ordinary for us. Yoder's Antique Mall stated on his Facebook page Thursday night, however, Emery's grandparents are vendors at Yoder's Antique Mall, and for this reason, along with several others, we feel Emery's talent and voice should be heard. So, the next 2 weeks, Emery's work will be hung at the business along Route 36 in Gaskill Township, east of Punxsutawney, PA. This was dated February 16th. So, next 2 weeks, probably isn't to see it. Stop in at the Antique Mall sometime next 2 weeks, check out Emery's artwork, and make your own decision, the mall operator posted. If you'd like to leave Emery a note of support, the container and a paper is there for your use. Make encouraging comments.
I saw the picture online of that heart-shaped string art that she done, and I don't know where these people's brains are. The girl looked like she did from what I could see, did a real nice job of doing the string art, going from post to post to post to post in the shape of a heart, and she had the fired casing from a 22 over top of the pins that were there that they laid out.
Yeah.
Okay, and these liberal bastards in school are trying to dictate to your kid, brainwash your kid. Our schools are no longer educational facilities; they are brainwashing mills. Okay, Indoctrination Center for the politically correct terminology, but I like brainwashing mills. Okay, not only in the grade schools or through high school, but we're talking right up into the colleges.
The college is that way.
Yeah, they've been that way, but they've become so much
That's
more.
where they started, because
Yeah.
they had to get the teachers on,
They had to get
future
the teachers
teachers on board.
Yeah.
So when they,
Got the job as teachers, they can start with kids, and you start
Yeah.
with kids and brainwash them
It's
easier.
pretty bad. You
And,
can't let kids be kids.
no,
You're gonna brainwash them. It's okay to have affections for your same sex, to have relationship with same, with your fellow boys, your fellow girls. But you have to feel like maybe you were born inside your own body. You are really a girl, not a boy, or vice versa.
I recall a bullet issue when I was in junior high. This would have been, I don't know, early 80s, between 80 and 84. Shop class. We were learning pouring metal, foundry, not foundry, is it?
foundry.
Foundry, yeah. And we made all these little doodads. Well, the teacher, I forget actually I know his name, but I'm not going to throw him under the bus in case, I mean,
He's still alive.
He's still alive. He said, we generally did aluminum because that's what we had, but he's like, if some stuff comes out really nice in brass. He's like, if you have anything brass at home, old scrap brass, bring it in, and we'll get it cleaned up and melted down. And he didn't say what. Well, this one kid brought in a whole bucket of spent casings, and as the teacher's going through them, because it was a fine idea, he found like 5 or 6 shot. They were fired, but they were duds. The powder was still in it, so he had to reinforce from that on. You can bring in brass, just not that kind of brass. And no one got in trouble.
No.
It was just something
Well,
he
but if
talked
he
about.
did it today,
Jesus.
he'd be escorted out with a SWAT team and four
Lord have
teams
mercy.
and 2 Hueys circling overhead because he was making an assault on the school.
It was more, right? He'd be arrested right to the spot.
Mm-hmm.
SWAT team be out at the parents' house, probably busting down the door.
But it was just funny how, I got some brass. What shop class? We're not the smartest kids on.
Well, it's a common mistake that would be made because they would, it didn't go off, so maybe there's no powder in it or anything like that.
Tossed in a bucket.
All you got, yeah.
And the kid
But
probably went down to Dad's reloading bench. Oh, that's brass. I'll take that with me.
Yeah, and all you got to do is put the head of it in a vice and go like this, and the bullet will pour right out. If there's powder there, then it'll dump out. No brain surgery required here. Okay? I can do that in the back of an ambulance going 90 miles an hour down the road, red lights and sirens, while tickling somebody's brain doing brain surgery.
Okay.
I'm not going to volunteer for that.
But it shows you how ludicrous they are. They are they're stupid. As much as they are supposedly educated, they are stupid. Functionally illiterate. If that's even possibly to be.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, don't forget the deadly gun-shaped Pop-Tarts, too.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know if it was blueberry or brown sugar and cinnamon.
Hopefully it was regular Pop Nuts, not that off-brand crap.
Yeah.
man, brown sugar, you're not making a Reese's
Huh? Brown sugar and cinnamon Pop-Tarts are pretty good.
That's
That's what I-
Yeah.
That's what we
I'm
had growing up.
sorry, the off-colored white sugar. Oh, shit. Why did I get myself in this?
Because you're a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, I
you
guess
like
so.
the abuse. You really do.
I think so. I'm a masochist.
Yeah,
Oh, it hurts so much, I'll give you a half hour to quit it.
I got something I want to talk about, and I'm...
okay.
All right, by all means.
Like I'll tell you, last weekend we had one of our goats. It was local. Unexpected. And the 2 female goats we have are Nubians. Brown and
You're what?
Nubians.
Nubians, gotcha.
Okay. And I mentioned that to somebody, I won't mention who they are, and they thought I was making something sexual. Some sexual related, No, that's the name of the type of goat they are. Okay, just like we used to have a goat that's an alpine goat. Okay, like to climb things or over things. We got rid of them. So Nubian is a bit more docile and everything. But anyway, that's the type of goat they are. Nothing sexually oriented. You know, it's not. It's not like somebody goes smacks somebody.
Well, the two younger goats would be Nubian, because they were just Nubians.
Yes, they're doing well. As you know, unfortunately, the third one died.
You ever eat them fainting goats?
No.
I wish things are hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know which one statement that you're referring to that I made. I wouldn't give them that much credit. They are enemies of the Constitution and we the people. Yeah, you're right, they are. And but I don't know what the comment was that I made that you're making that winterborn, but that's okay. I sometimes wonder what I'm saying myself sometimes after I said it. But then I figured, don't wander too far, you just get lost. And a mine's a terrible place to get lost in. Will you quit coming up here, you autoplay son of-
It's because I'm plugged in.
Oh, that's right. You told me
It's
that
you.
last... You!
I am the demon. I am the god of.
You're the spy!
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, while we're on the subject of guns,
Guns are bad, okay?
I've never yet seen a bad gun. I've seen some old busted guns, but I've never seen a bad gun.
I remember the one you had, the little revolver you had in your toolbox when you had the gun shop here before it burned down. That was bad. That was an awful little gun. So a little 38 would probably be defined as a Saturday night special throwaway. It was a horrible piece of chrome-plated.
That's why I was in the toolbox.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It was functional.
It was functional, but it was horrible.
Besides, I needed a throwaway at that time.
I don't know. Anyway, every town, well, yeah, every town, but anyway, every town distanced itself from Bloomberg due to stop and frisk comment. Okay. Michael Bloomberg, former mayor of New York City, now, trying to be the Democratic nominee for the President of the United States, once upon a time founded the Everytown for Gun Safety. Anyway, this group, Everytown for Gun Safety, had reportedly distanced itself from Mike Bloomberg following the publication of his comment in defense of stop and frisk. Okay. I'm not sure where it's system. Anyway, on February 11th, Braveheart News reported a speech Bloomberg gave at the Aspen Institute where he defined a strategy of aggressively policing minority neighborhoods. He gave the speech in 2015, and the recording of it is at, it's now city public attention. The Aspen Times quoted Bloomberg as saying, cities need to get guns out of the hands of individuals who are male, minority, between the ages of 15 and 25. In the full audio of the speech, he bluntly said of young minorities, put them against the wall and frisk him. And admitted that they put all cops in minority neighborhoods. That's where all the crime is. Now this is, for those who don't know, this up against the wall frisking thing was New York City when he was mayor of New York City. So stop and frisk started back when he was mayor. And you blame minorities with guns with all the violence in the neighborhood. And of course had the police deployed to the minority neighborhoods. Anyway, also on February 11th, Breitbart News reported excerpts of a 2013 interview with WOR, which is out of New York City, during which Bloomberg said, one newspaper and one news service. They keep saying, if a disproportionate percentage of a particular ethnic group being targeted by the city's stop and frisk policies. That may be, but it's not disproportionate percentage of those who witnesses and victims a witness and victim described as committing murder. In that case, incidentally, I think we forcibly stopped whites too much and minorities too little. This guy has a thing against minorities, in case you haven't grasped it. We heard previous comments he made about that. On February 14th, WAMU, I'm not sure what that is, I didn't say what WAMU is. That every town for guns they released a statement distancing himself from Bloomberg. Every town was founded as an umbrella group of sorts, observing Bloomberg's mayors against illegal guns and sharing a gun control agenda with the Bloomberg founded Moms Demand Action. So you can see Bloomberg is anti-gun. And already has his hand in a couple different organizations that are anti-gun. Personally, he's not the guy to be president. And that's it.
That's it. It was just a one-pager.
Yeah.
It shows you how two-faced he is. It's like all the other politicians. He goes to an area and he tells them what they want to hear. And then when he goes to somewhere else, he tells them what they want to hear, which might be totally different than what he told the other people at the previous rally. Just like the commercial where he, Abomination, was giving him credit for working with Bloomberg to create gun safety laws, and to what was that? The word I'm looking, they used the word pragmatic decisions on other issues. So, being that I have been not in school for many, many years and I couldn't remember what pragmatic meant, I looked it up on the Pooter, the smart thing, you know, that high-speed wireless device. Anyway, I punched in pragmatic, and the technical meaning is to come to a decision through common sense reasoning.
Wait a minute. What Democratic politician has that?
None of them.
Not too sure too many other politicians either.
I know, but you follow what I'm saying, and
None of us are
yeah,
not
decisions not based on emotion and fear or other.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And then maybe common sense may kick in after the fact. Oh yeah, we shouldn't have done that. But too late.
But it's too late. You done it. So, all right. If it's too late, you do it. Then undo it. You know, you can pass a law retracting that law. But no, they're government, and we make no mistakes. We are infallible. You cannot resist. We will absorb you.
Right. You know, my wife brought up a good term. I forgot about it. Our politicians, whether they be here in Pennsylvania or down in Washington, D.C., are nothing but robber barons. You know, taking from us what they want, pretending that they are kings and queens. You know, they are above the law.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard, I think it was last week before, somebody mentioned the Mitch McConnell about term limits. Well, we have term limits. It's called voting. No, we need term limits. We don't have the kind of politicians we have now, which are basically career politicians.
Mm-hmm.
Who get influenced by too many people because they get too many dollars on the outside. And wonder why they get. How do you get rich being a politician?
You haven't paid any attention to the news where the different representatives are asked to come and speak before colleges.
Oh yeah.
Okay, they get a gratuity for coming, and it's a rather large gratuity depending on how popular they are in the field of what that particular college wants to educate. Okay?
Well, a great one.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So, Anyway, well, it is 5 minutes to 5, or 5 minutes to 7, and I was thinking of doing the gun shows, but I don't think I have time to do them now, so I'm going to wait until after. So anybody got any comments you want to fill in for the last couple of minutes before we do the break?
Oh yeah, we were going along with the whole Bloomberg thing. I guess it's come out that Bloomberg, if he gets the nomination, he intends to pick Hillary as
Hillary!
his running mate.
Get hold of the beast!
If that happens and he becomes president, we need to take bets to see how long before he suicides himself.
Well, he's
Based on unfortunate
You mean hillside?
it could be all Floyd from that side of the aisle, you know, get him in there with her as the second, and then he'll like have a medical issue or something would come up that he would voluntarily step down. It could be all in the.
Then she would become El Presidente. Zeke Heil! Oh, Zeke Hillary! Zeke Clinton! And
Howard. Hi, Hillary. How you doing?
Hillary! Have you been howled lately, Hillary? Yeah, okay. Well, it all depends on what they put in my EpiPen, you know? You don't think that's really a medicine to keep me from getting sick?
I know. I got this Mark Hunter.
I still want to know what happened to her when she collapsed at one of her political rallies when she was still running for president. Whisked away, and she was seen a short while later looking remarkably different, 100% spry, and she had a bout of pneumonia or something silly like that.
Yeah, they gave her a shot of something.
And she didn't even look like the same person. And it was.
And you've seen her pictures lately, that she is so much healthier looking now than she was back when she was running president. Yeah.
Well,
Well, I know it's some of it's Photoshop.
drinking all the blood of her virgin victims.
Well, there are.
6 Botox injections.
That's not far too, because there's I've seen this before. I can't think of it. There's a young children have it. When they get frightened, they secrete a certain enzyme that's supposed to be helpful to adults as far as maintaining their
Yes, I just saw that.
longevity. I can't think of the name of that called.
Yeah, I just saw that myself.
Which could explain why there are so many missing children under the age of 12, 13, 14.
Maybe,
They're being scared and sucked dry out of the blood.
maybe that's what happened to those 2 children of the couple that went to Hawaii that they are looking for. Maybe they sold them to one of these places, and they're now a dried grape somewhere. And so, well, at that point, I'm going to take a break here, folks, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes or so.
We'll be back.
back, boys. Boys and girls. Okay, kids, we back.
No.
Yeah, much to your chagrin. First things first, guys. See that? Beer in a Glencairn glass. Aerates. There's a couple comments on there. I'm not going to go back to them, but I want to do the gun shows here while I'm thinking of it. While my voice is holding me up. Okay. We started off the last weekend of February, which Saturday's the 29th, and the first weekend is Elwood City, in Elwood, down in Harlinsburg. They call it Harlinsburg, but it's Elwood City Fire Hall on the February 29th and March the 1st. I will be there. Theory, I'm supposed to be there. I got tables. I don't know where the fire went, but it's around here. Now, in March the 7th and 8th, the Hermitage, PA, Hickory Post, VFW, Route 62, east of PA 18.
By 2 miles.
West of Mercer on 62.
By 9 miles.
And so, be there, be square. I'll be there. So if there's anybody in there who wants to stop down, give me a holler or stop down. The more I come through, the more I sell, the more I can pay my taxes and get out of some other problems that have crept up. Now, on March the 14th and 15th is the gun show at Rocky Grove Fire Hall down in Franklin, PA. I don't have the flyer here. I got so many things going on, folks, I can't keep myself straight. But anyway, March the 14th and 15th at Rocky Grove Fire Hall. I will be there. I got tables. Okay, March the 21st and 22nd. Scott Township Gun Show down on Harlinsburg Road, Newcastle, PA. Mr. T pointed out that he was reading the fine print. No loaded weapons on premises. Okay? So remember that. If you're going, don't take a loaded gun. You might be bad.
Route 108.
Yeah. Let's see. March the 22nd, March the 21st and 22nd. Harbor Creek Fire Hall, their social hall. 727-5 Buffalo Road, US Route 20, Harbor Creek, PA. That's March 21st and 22nd. I got tables there. Let's see, March 28th and 29th. Hidden Valley Sportsman's Club. That's March 28th and 29th. The Hidden Valley Sportsman's Club. And the name of the road is 268 Gilkey Road, West Middlesex, PA. Okay. I haven't done that show for a long time. I think I'm going to have to see if I can get tables. I need to move on that pretty soon.
Best way to find it, go to 18 West Wilson, look for the sign, make a left-hand turn going southbound, or a right-hand turn going northbound, and follow the road back.
Yeah, because
Hidden Valley, you're in the right
it
hand.
is hidden.
Yeah, it is.
They got a good name for the Sportsman's Club. Okay, April the 18th and 19th, that's the weekend after Easter, at Ashtabula County Fairgrounds. I will not be there. I am normally there, but I messed up and planned my show because I thought they were a week later. But anyway, April the 18th and 19th, Ashtabula County Fairgrounds. That's over in Jefferson, Ohio, on 127 North Elm Street. So be there, be square. Now, April the 18th and 19th, the show that I'm putting on, I'm hoping will put me over enough money to pay my taxes for last year. Cherry Tree Township Volunteer Fire Department on Cherry Tree Road, Titusville. It's not as complicated as it sounds to find it. Again, it's April the 18th and 19th. If you're coming from Meadville on Route 27, you go on Route 27 till you start down the last hill into Titusville, and on your right-hand side is a road that is called Cherry Tree Road. You turn right. You go down there 2 miles, maybe 3, and bingo, right on the right-hand side, the fire hall. Now, if you're coming up Route 8, or coming down Route 8, if you're coming down Route 8, you can turn on 27 and come up to the turn, which would then be on your left. If you're coming up Route 8, you come up Route 8 to Cross Creek Country Club, and you turn left on Buxton Road. That's Buxton Road, and you go to the first road to your right, which is Cherry Tree Road. Make a right-hand turn, boom, and you know you're going to be close because there's an old school there. An old school. Okay. That's the end of what I got to say on gun shows. Yes, Senor.
All right. Something popped up the other day, and I've been meaning to bring this up. I wish I would have seen this a couple of years ago when Mike was still with us, but there is a cocktail out there called the Braveheart. And I happen to have the recipe.
Oh, you're going to have to, oh, I got to hear it.
Well, okay, it's 2 ounces of blended Scotch whiskey, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 3/4 of an ounce of honey ginger syrup, and 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. I'm not sure exactly what that is. In a cocktail shaker, combine all ingredients with ice, shake well, then strain into rocks glass over fresh ice. It sounds like a delightful cocktail, probably good for the summer months where it's a little more refreshing.
Yeah.
We'll have to try that someday.
Yeah, put a little umbrella in it, you know. Nice straw to suck on it with.
You can make the straws out of old 50 caliber casings.
Yeah.
That'd be horrible. Yeah, awful.
Well, maybe not if you clean the burnt cordite out of them.
Yeah.
Oh, just
What's that additional flavor in there? That's
a
cool.
little banger to brighten up your day.
Yeah. Or of course you could always take your 50 caliber cases to make your straws out of and wash them in alcohol and hydrogen peroxide and all that, and clean all that stuff out of there. Or you just use it to wash it out with rum.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought how apropos that would have been, because he was always talking about the official beer of and the official whiskey of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I tell you, I miss Mike, but hopefully he's in a better place. We were talking during halftime about this abortion doctor who had unburied remains in his house. This is off of Newsmax, so you can go check it out. It was Thursday, February 13th that I saw that. So, thousands of fetal remains found at a Chicago, Illinois, Chicago, anyway, Illinois home of former abortion doctor last summer have been buried in South Bend, Indiana, USA Today reports. The Will County Sheriff's Office said last fall that more than 2,000 medically preserved fetal remains were found in the garage of the late Dr. Yorlick Cooper? Anyway, K-L-O-P-F-E-R, who performed tens of thousands of abortions over the course of a 40-year career as the only provider of abortions in 3 cities, South Bend, Gary, and Fort Wayne. The remains were found in his garage and in his vehicles. Kiefer's medical license had been suspended in 2016 after state regulators found that the records he kept were in poor shape and his monitoring of patients wasn't up to standards. The shocking discovery was horrifying to anyone with normal sensibilities. Indiana Attorney General Curtis Hill, a conservative anti-abortionist Republican, said that at the burial cemetery. Regrettably, there is no shortage of depravity in our world today, including due to one of the most vulnerable among us. U.S. Today notes that Indiana is one of the only states that a law states with a law that requires the burial or cremation of fetal remains from abortions. Sharina Dyskin, a 44-year-old mother of two from Elkhart, attended the ceremony because she had been a patient of Cooper's after she was raped by a teenager. Coming here today was just another layer of the healing process, Dykus said. As a post-abortive man and woman, sometimes we think we should be able to mourn the loss of our children, but it was a loss of life. It doesn't matter the situation, the age, it still had a mother's heart. We don't want to forget what happened, she added, and there was so many hurting women in our community because of this. This is a place for mothers to come to mourn the loss of their children. With burying 2,000, I think before I would have buried them, I would have made a nice big anti-abortion publicity campaign out of it. I know it's not necessarily the right thing to do, but if we could prevent future abortions by these animals, that these children, if they would have been able to survive, would be grateful. So, just remember that. We should have, I never saw it on the national media. It should have all been lined up, all those jars lined up, stacked up, put on shelves, and let the news media go in and film it. And then put it on the news and then put it out there on the other social media, but nothing was seen or said, so I may be a little old thinking, but I still think life is precious, and a child hasn't got a chance to establish himself if the parents abort him for one reason or another. And you can see here, the mother was having some issues with it, even though she was raped, and she got rid of the baby because of being raped. She's still having issues with it. And I'd like to know what happened to the raper. Was he galvanized? He should have been. Not to make light of it, but seriously. Okay? So, anyway, next up.
All right. I wish Mr. Giuliani, President Trump's personal lawyer, would either shit or get off the pot. I'm tired of his blustering about having this smoking gun. Here's an article from Jack Davis of the Western Journal. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani said Saturday he has the smoking gun as it relates to what he says is Hunter Biden's connection to alleged corruption in Ukraine. Giuliani, who is now the personal lawyer to President Donald Trump, spoke on the Fox News show Water's World about his long-running personal investigation into the activities of Hunter Biden and his father, Democratic presidential candidate and former Vice President Joe Biden. Giuliani said that despite Trump's acquittal on impeachment charges in the Senate, the full truth must be told. I want to prove what happened because I believe if we prove what happened, he will be totally vindicated, Giuliani said. Giuliani referenced a January 2016 National Security Council meeting that he said may have been attended by the whistleblower whose complaint sparked the months-long controversy over Trump's July 25th phone call in Ukraine's president. Goes on to quote, Obama and Biden representatives tell Ukrainian officials, get me dirt on Manafort. I have 3 witnesses to that, Giuliani said, referring to Paul Manafort, who was Trump's campaign chairman during part of 2016. Manafort was later convicted on fraud charges for his previous activities in Ukraine that were not part of his association with the Trump campaign. 3 witnesses are willing to get on the witness stand and say that in January 2016, members of Obama's NSC violated the law Mueller was investigating Trump for violating. Giuliani said from 2017 to 2019, then Special Counsel Robert Mueller investigated alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, only to report that none could be found. The crux of the issue, Giuliani said, is that under former President Barack Obama, those NSC members asked foreigners for dirty information on an American citizen who was going to be involved in a political campaign. Giuliani has said the extent of corruption related to Joe Biden and his son is vast. Host Jesse Waters asked Giuliani about documents on Hunter Biden's business dealings in Ukraine and noted that Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham, a South Carolina Republican, has said he will be investigating Hunter Biden's activities in Ukraine. Giuliani says, "Let's get started, Lindsey. I have what I used to call when I was a U.S. attorney a smoking gun." He continued, outlining what he said are documents from the Latvian government to the Ukrainian government that show Hunter Biden is under investigation for corruption. This should have been investigated, Giuliani said. Look, the government has been so lax in investigating this, it's pathetic. These crimes that when I was a U.S. attorney, the day Joe Biden made that boastful announcement about how he bribed, the investigation would have begun the next day for bribery. He violated the bribery statute, Giuliani was referring to 2018 comments that Biden made about a 2016 visit to Ukraine when he demanded the nation's government fire a prosecutor who had investigated a company where his son served on the board if it wanted to receive U.S. aid. Biden has defended his action by saying other governments also wanted the prosecutor, who Biden said was corrupt, fired. He has claimed he did not act because of his son's connection to Burisma, the company that had been investigated. The article originally was in the Western News.
So now we know where all these, it was okay for Abomination to do it, but it's supposedly not okay for Trumpy to do it? Okay. And if it boils down to, it's okay for the Democrats.
It's okay for the Democrats, but not for the
Republicans, yes. It's an exclusive club. You Republicans can't do that.
And so, the only thing because Biden is a political opponent. It doesn't matter. If Biden is guilty, or if Biden or his son are guilty, then that need to be brought out, and both of them, are arrested, people charged, arrested, in prison according to U.S. law.
Well, the Attorney General or prosecuting attorney in the Ukraine that was fired because he was conducting the investigation has filed a lawsuit in some court. I don't know if it's Ukrainian court or some other country's court against the Bidens for their corruption and dealings with UNESCO or whatever it is. Burisma.
This is a sleep drug.
Well, that's all right too. Let's put them all to sleep, goddammit. If that's all they do down in Washington is screw the shit, let's put them all to sleep. And that would be less painful than going around hitting them all on the head with the butt of an assault rifle.
Well, you can use an assault stick for that.
Yeah. Ball that, tire iron.
Broom.
Yeah. No, that'll take the broom away from you and fly away.
Well, then, over in England, how they're talking about limiting the number of knives you're allowed to have in your house, there'll be the number of sticks you're allowed to have. Cut down all the trees. Can't have them terrible sticks.
Yeah, beat the tree to death.
I can see people with canes who are saying, no, you can't have a cane, that's an assault cane.
Yep, can't have a cane, it's a salt cane.
I just want a candy cane.
You know what gets me is, I have a cane, and it can never be an assault cane, because there's no container in it to put salt in.
Oh,
Mine
Jesus.
doesn't have one either.
Yeah.
Mine is a plain cane.
Plain cane? Mine's a plain cane too. Looks like a short version of the shepherd's hook.
I'm made out of wood. I don't know.
And that's, yeah, mine's made out of wood too, but,
You're not in Germany, but sure that.
so. Okay, who wants to go next?
I just went.
Scotty just went.
Okay. I'm gonna bring back Mr. Bloomberg.
A great American hero! Self-made billionaire! Doesn't matter how many people he stepped on to get to his billions, but
Anyway, Bloomberg rejoins two, not just one, but two our clubs he once quit for lack of diversity. This is dated February 14th. Michael Bloomberg has rejoined two clubs that he quit in 2001. Space Odyssey. Because he objected to their exclusion of women and minorities, according to the Huffington Post. In 2014, the New York Post reported Bloomberg had rejoined the Century Club, a predominantly white club in Purchase, New York. He also put his children up for membership, the Post reported at that time. Huffington Post reported Thursday that Bloomberg also rejoined the Brook Club, an elite social club in Midtown Manhattan, as well reported to be a men's-only club.
ooh. You mean he admits to being a man? I thought maybe he might have been confused on his gender. But, Hillary and drag.
Anyway, as long as the Brook and similar clubs keep the membership under 400, they're able to avoid non-discrimination laws that bar movement. So, okay, under 400, you avoid non-discrimination laws and you can bar movement. Anyway, according to Huffington Post. The club has since denied it. My understanding is also the Brook Club has female members and people of color as members today. At some point in the past, they were men only. Says Stu. Probably Louser, but I'm going to say Loser. A campaign slogan for Bloomberg, all Huffington Post. Loser, also the Huffington Post, that Bloomberg is still a member of the Century Country Club, which was founded by Jewish men in New York in the mid-1800s, but now accepts female members through the majority are reported to be whites. At the time Bloomberg quit the Century Country Club, the Brook, more than one membership here. At the time Bloomberg quit the Century Club, the Brook, the Rocket and Tennis Club, and the Harmony Club, he said they were not diverse enough for him to keep his membership, according to the Times. Loser told Huffington Post that Bloomberg rejoined both the Century Club and the Brook after he left office in 2013, claiming the Century Club had become more diverse. Didn't say anything about the rest of them. Anyway. Well, I don't know Bloomberg.
Well, that shows you how two-faced he is. Okay. Of course, they tried to equate Trump with Epstein when Trump met him one time.
Didn't he have Epstein thrown out of his Mar-a-Lago resort because he was just a shady character?
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah. But see, they don't want you to know that. They're trying to connect him with it. Well, if you're trying to connect Trump with Epstein, what about the Clintons, who we have evidence that they were there several times?
The island at Bolton, on his plane, built like 26 times, documented for
Yeah.
sure.
And then there's some of the royal family, I forget which one.
Prince Andrew, I believe.
Yeah, visited the place several times.
Supposedly, this island is known for having young boys and girls there.
Yeah, young boys and girls.
I wonder how much blood it was
Well, you gotta, you have to admit, at least they weren't sexist. They had young boys and girls. And so we can't charge them with that kind of a crime, being sexist. And, But the corrupt keep getting more corrupt, and they keep slapping us on the wrist so that they can keep being more corrupt. And it's a question of when we're going to stop letting them do that, and we take the ball bat and hit them in the head. And decontaminate the gene pool.
Unfortunately, it is my fear that we've gone over the tipping point. We're past that threshold now. We're going to have to crash and burn before we can rebuild. I don't think
I think,
we're
George,
saving this jalopy right now.
there was some information at one time that George Washington had a dream in which he saw the United States burning in the future. And nobody was, it's documented, but nobody was able to figure out what he was referring to. Maybe he's referring to future events that are coming down the pike.
Well, the closest thing probably could have been a race riots in the 60s. Things did burn. Probably not.
I think it was more of a metaphorical vision than an actual
Yeah.
burning of the United States per se.
But, hey, if you have a wholesale revolution and we go and have to go after these people, there's going to be, it's going to be a burnt landscape. Okay. But I gotta interject something here. My wife and I have been saving our quarters for years now, trying to get enough money to take a trip to Monument Valley. Well, every time we get a little bit ahead, something comes up that takes it. So this last Tuesday, we decided with all the shit that's been going on, with her being sick for the last year, me having my problems last year, and the continuation of battling with the taxes and stuff, we decided that we would go to a movie. So we went to the movies here in Eagle. It's a, what do they call that?
The Cineplex or whatever.
Yeah, Cineplex. Yeah, we went to a matinee, a bargain matinee, 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, and there was only 4 people in that theater, but there's 12 theaters. I think there's 12 theaters.
Yeah, it's a gigantic theater
Yeah.
complex.
But when we got there at 10 o'clock, because the movie started at 10:20, there was at least 50 to 75 cars already in the parking lot. So they were running matinees probably in all the different things there. So, but we went to see the movie 1917. And in case you're not familiar with the date, that is World War I. I have to, as a weapons enthusiast, I have to say from what I could see, all the weapons were correct for the period. Okay? The only problem I had with it is because it was done with the English and English stars, I had a problem understanding the English once in a while because of the severe Cockney accent to it, or whatever you want to call it. Okay? But it was a well done movie. My wife...
It was pretty hard to understand.
It was entertaining. And I made the comment to my wife. I said it was so refreshing to go see something that was supposed to be based on a historical event that has been dramatized in a proper way with the proper accoutrements. I says, Discovery Channel has a tendency to bring out mysteries of the museum. And they have artifacts from different places during World War I and World War II and stuff. So they have dramatizations of the artifact. And what always got me when it came to stuff that came from World War I, you would have 2 GIs sitting in a trench, which was correct. But instead of carrying a bolt-action 303 or 1903 Springfield or a, what was the other, 3040 Craig?
Where do they,
Anyway, instead of carrying those,
the Eddystone.
Yeah, Eddystone, yeah, that's it, not 34 grade, the Eddystone. But instead of having the bolt action Eddystone or the 1903 A3, they were carrying M1 Grands and M1 Cardinals.
I saw some posts on that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay? And then when they showed the Germans on the other side in the other trench, the Germans were there with 303 Britishes. Okay?
Gotcha.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So, but you know, it shows you how stupid they think you are when they're trying to present you things from the past. And I really felt insulted. I very seldom watch Discovery Channel anymore because of that. I still watch the History Channel, but because I'm a fan of Curse of Oak Island, and I think this next week they find a tunnel in one of the spots they're digging. And
I have cable and that, so.
well, that would be on satellite too.
I have mine,
If you don't have satellite, you know. You got anything you want to say?
Yeah, you were talking about George Washington, and this is something, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this. You might know if it's historically accurate. My father's side of my family came from Sagertown. And my granddad always talked about there was a house in Sagertown that George Washington supposedly stayed in when he was in this area back pre-Revolutionary War. He was going up French Creek doing his surveying, and I guess there was a house that had been modernized over the years that he had stayed in. Had you ever heard that?
I haven't heard of a house in Sagertown, but there is a monument or a rock over on Terrace Street where George Washington was supposed to have camped on his
where?
trails. Terrace Street. Okay. You would ask. You go up, not Park Avenue. Yeah, you go up Park Avenue and it tees on Randolph. There's a Y there, five corner Y. There's C&J Plastic is on that corner. Used to be a car dealership many years ago. Well, anyway, there's an old plaque from where the feeder canal comes down for the Erie Canal, right over the bank. And then just a little ways from that is the stone where it claims it marks the spot where George Washington slept here during his exploration of French Creek. Yeah, so, as far as the Sagertown thing goes, I haven't heard that, so I cannot dispel it.
I didn't know if you'd ever heard that.
Because my impression before, at the time of him doing that survey, there was not many people east of west of the Alleghenies. And that was one of the reasons why they were there trying to open up territories.
And well, Meadville wasn't officially founded till what, 1788?
Yeah, 1788.
So if there had been a house, that would have been very rustic.
It was basically founded on a couple of land grants from some soldiers who distinguished themselves in the Revolutionary War.
And I'll have you know, as far as my historical references go, where they have the log cabin here in Meadville, it's not quite right.
No.
It's a little farther up. It's where the junkyard is now.
But that was the only place.
I mean, it's close, and it's a nice little park.
Yes, it is, and it's a nice representation of what the housing would have been like if you were back there. I kind of like it. I wouldn't mind moving in there.
I'm not trying to be too overly appreciative, I'm just making comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
And
it was supposedly at the intersection of Cussawaga Creek and French Creek.
Yeah, there was a blockhouse too. And if they went so far as to build the log cabin, I wish they would have put the blockhouse there too.
I'm sure finances,
Yeah, well, donations, but
Well, I also read somewhere that back in the, I think the late 1800s, they did something about changing the flow pattern of Cussawaga Creek.
Yeah, the not Cussawaga, French Creek. Okay, they filled off, when I came into Meadville there, just north of Meadville, it broke off into two streams and had a fairly good island. Now, that section of town that's flat was the island. Okay? So what they did was they filled in the one branch coming all the way down through, filled it all in, and ran French Creek all into the other branch and around. So they filled in the branch of the creek and made it a plateau or whatever you want to call it, which used to be an island.
I got you.
Who's the EPA on this?
Huh?
Who's the EPA on this?
Oh, they're about 200 years or 200 light years into the future.
Oh, yeah.
Who would do that now? What kind of permits and what else? Well, I think probably last one had a Biden article. Decolonizing. Anyway. Student whom Biden called a lying dog-faced soldier speaks out kind of humiliating. A Georgia college student said Democratic President can Joe Biden's commentary. She asked him how his poor finish in the Chicago would impact his presidential race was kind of humiliating. On Sunday during the campaign stop in New Hampshire, the former vice president appeared to lose his cool after Madison Moore, who was studying economics at Mercer University in Macon, asked him about his struggling campaign. How do you explain to voters in Iowa why should voters believe that you can win the national election? The 21-year-old Moore asked. Biden responded by asking her if she ever attended the caucus before. Moore responded that she had. Biden launched a bizarre accusation. You don't have it, he said. You are a lying, dog-faced pony soldier. Biden spokesman, Remy Yamamoto, maybe related to War II Admiral Yamamoto, Japanese, said the line was a joke, quote unquote, and that it came from a John Wayne movie. Slate, I'm not quite sure what it is, sought to track down and found no use of that exact line. The closest it came up with was from the movie Pony Soldier, the 1952 film starring not Wayne, but Tyrone Power. I think you remember that. In which the Indian chief says, the Pony Soldier speaks the tongue of the snake that rattles. Simone Sanders, a senior Biden campaign advisor, also tried to miss remark during an appearance on MSNBC. It was a joke, she said. Many people laughed. However, as Moore told the Macon Telegraph, it was kind of insulting to see the comments struck off as a joke. It's kind of illuminating to see a liar, be called a liar on national TV by a former vice president, he told the newspaper. Instead of answering that question, straightforward, his immediate response was an attempt to invalidate me by exposing my experience. Moore said Biden has been performing extremely poorly in his race, and the fact that he couldn't just straight answer my question without bullying or intimidating just actuates the fact. I'm a 21-year-old college student, like, what the hell I know? Who cares who I am or my experience? Just answer the damn question. She wanted to say that she didn't realize her question was going to go viral, only did national recognition. If I expected that, I would have worn makeup, she said. I would look cuter. Chris Grant, a professor at Mercer, also organized a trip. To the campaign stop. Told Telegraph in a Facebook message that his goal was to use students more experienced in a political setting and be directly involved. Madison asked a completely reasonable question to a very experienced politician, and unfortunately got an answer that was not Cannon's best interest. Yeah, you can say that, Grant said. I think it's an amazing learning experience for our students to be able to see this up close. He said Mercer certainly has a reason to be upset with the vice president. But yeah. President Donald Trump's eldest son wanted to Twitter to weigh in on the incident. If he, Biden, can't handle a simple question for his own supporters, how can Joe Biden possibly take on Donald Trump for one-on-one for 6 months? Trump Jr. said. Biden has been having a rough month. Aside from the incident with Moore, he has also admitted to taking a gut punch in Iowa, and barely threw in the towel in New Hampshire, altogether on the way to finishing 5th there. This article originally appeared in Western somebody did analysis of Biden and his comments and his lackluster enthusiasm. Personally, I think is that Biden is kind of forced into running, or doesn't really want to be president. And the way you can look at it, yeah, probably so. So,
Do you think that?
stop out. Just make it simple.
Yeah. Do you think that he was pushed into that to steal votes away from the other candidates,
Probably.
so that Sanders could get the nomination?
That could be, but Sanders,
'Cause Sanders seems to be moving ahead of everybody, except he has that.
all the Democrats basically are idiots. Okay, they're all communists or socialists.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders is probably the worst lot of being a communist.
What's the name of that one guy that supposedly narrowly won the Iowa caucus?
Buttigieg?
Buttigieg?
Butthead.
Yeah, Butthead. Okay. My understanding is he's a little late upstairs. He likes boys.
He does have a husband.
Yeah, he does. And that's what you want to put in Washington?
The way I see it, if you're going to do right by the country, whatever. I
Well-
don't care about who you sleep with or...
I don't care, but when you're flaunting it in public, that's the part that I object to. Because there are too many young minds out there that are too easily influenced or brainwashed to that thinking. And you and I were discussing this the other day. If homosexuality was supposed to be a norm, it would have died out long ago because homosexuals cannot reproduce. Okay? So it's an illness. And it's brought on by confusion of mind when they were kids. And I saw something today where a mother of a 2-year-old is already, I think it's a 2-year-old boy, is already claiming that the 2-year-old boy is having gender identity problems.
How does a 2-year-old even know?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So,
Here we go. I want to get off that
I
topic.
never have
I really do.
grandchildren, and I can't think of any of them that have a gender identity problem.
All right. This is about our old favorite, Antifa.
oh, Antifa!
Antifa.
Antifa! Come on, you communist or Nazi bastards!
Portland police continue to let Antifa run rampant, refuse to help men chased by a violent mob, according to C. Douglas Golden from the Western Journal. If you like photographing political animals in a very literal sense, Portland, Oregon is pretty much like the Serengeti is to National Geographic documentary news. Every few weeks, a right-wing organization of dubious provenance or an Antifa group will organize some kind of rally. The other group will show up because if the first group were allowed to hold a rally unmolested, the world might indeed collapse in upon itself. This all ends with people karate kicking and spraying noxious substances on each other. And there's always an independent journalist in the mix who ends up getting attacked, almost always by Antifa-related types. Either way, there's always some unsettling footage that comes out of these events, which feels as if it ought to be narrated by gravitas mode David Attenborough, whatever that means, I don't know. You can almost hear the quintessentially English pipes of Sir David now. One thing you will notice about these fights, of course, is the complete absence of police. In Portland, they seem to stay away from the brawl, letting a pack of hyenas try and chase the impala entirely unmolested. The hyenas, as you see, have their bricks and wallet chains out.
The police don't get hurt.
Obviously. History repeated itself on Saturday as police refused to help a videographer who was being chased down by an Antifa mob. According to the Blaze, Nate Millsap, who runs the YouTube channel Stumptown Matters, was there to document the clash between leftist groups, including Antifa and members of the Ku Klux Klan, who were slated to have a rally at the Multnomah County Courthouse. The KKK canceled that rally 3 hours before it was to happen, according to KOIN TV, which should have been a victory for everyone. Instead of going home, however, Antifa stuck around. Portland police tweeted that lit flares are being thrown into the roadway near London's Lonsdale Square, and that a monument in the park was defaced by Antifa members. They also used metal tip umbrellas to poke people and chase them down the street, according to a police news release. KOIN reported that a group of protesters pushed police while throwing oranges, a glass bottle, tennis balls, rock, concrete, batons, cans, and mud at the officers and other people. Millsap said Antifa members had concealed objects or weapons in their hands when he encountered them. He told The Blaze he saw one of them approaching me while shaking a can of pepper spray. I wanted no part of whatever intentions they had for me, so I immediately abandoned my camera duties and sprinted to safety. Millsap took refuge with police officers in riot gear at the city's Justice Center, but Antifa members continued to pursue him, calling him a, I don't know, it would be bitch or bastard, they kind of blocked it out. B swear word. What did police say? You better come up with a different plan, like baby, go somewhere else, dude. One officer told him, we're not going to run out of here and save you. Millsap then explained the situation to police. I'm just telling you, that ain't going to happen again, so you better go probably find something else, okay? And the officer said. The officer's telling this guy to go away. They don't want to protect him. Millsap would eventually escape. The police bureau said in the news release that officers did not use force against anyone during this event. If that was supposed to be a brag, it probably shouldn't have been. The small group's actions negatively impacted public safety on the entire city because resources had to be diverted to this event. Portland Police Bureau Chief Jamie Resch said in his statement. Unfortunately, a group of people chose to engage in dangerous, illegal behavior. I appreciate the thoughtful, measured response by our officers and law enforcement partners. The very, very measured response demonstrated in the video drew the attention of Andy Ingo, arguably the highest profile independent journalist covering the Portland Antifa beat. After asking Portland police for comment on the officer's decision not to defend Millsap's right to document a public protest, he said he received an email back saying, just because an arrest is not made on the spot, it does not mean that an arrest won't be made in the future. A statement that somehow manages to miss the point and yet be totally on brand for political or Portland officialdom. Just another documentary video from the Portland Serengeti. This would almost be funny were it not so serious. This is ostensibly a group of mass thugs out of the warriors who have cloaked their ideology in politics and managed to be believed by some. Keep in mind there were no Klansmen out on the streets of Portland for Antifa to oppose. There wasn't any catalyst for this violence. All the black-clad hooligans here could have gotten in their Priuses, removed their bandanas, turned around, hummed the Internationale to themselves on their way home, and then binge-watched old Henry Rollins spoken word videos on YouTube. Instead, what they did was, well, all of this and certainly more. Portland doesn't have any sort of substantive control over Antifa, and it's proved this repeatedly. Ngo himself is the most high-profile victim, having been brutally attacked on camera last June. Police have issued red zone warnings ahead of these events, yet seem thoroughly unable to stop an invariable result. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler has largely been ineffective in the matter. In 2018, after Antifa members blocked an intersection, threatening and harassing motorists, Wheeler stood by the decision of the police not to intervene, according to the Washington Times. After another particularly violent weekend courtesy of Antifa groups last August, Wheeler posted an idyllic date night photos of himself on social media captioning it, Sundays in Portland. The message, in other words, has come from the top. Yeah, we might not like this sort of thing, but if you're in their way, you're on your own. The people of Portland can't afford this kind of leadership. You've seen the National Geographic videos. You know eventually what happens when the hyenas catch up with the impala. Eventually, tragically, one feels the result might not be much different here if law enforcement doesn't start enforcing the law.
What it looks like to me is they're trying to incite a mass riot and get it to spread throughout the whole country. Because nobody's doing anything against Antifa. And heaven forbid them, I'll take my belt off and use the belt buckle to smack them in the face to defend myself. If that's the only thing, if I have a cane, I'm going to smash him in the head. I ain't running. I can't run. I'm too old to run. And I'm not going to die tired. If I got to die, I'm going to take a few bastards with me.
What's the old saying? It's better to die on your feet than live on your knees?
Yeah. Now, I got a comment. Some of the kids in the chat rooms were saying I look confused. No, I wasn't confused. I have had a change in my diabetic medicine, and the new stuff doesn't appear to be working. The old stuff was causing me some problems. So far, I've been on this new stuff for about not quite a week, and it doesn't appear to be helping my sugar numbers. But it's only a half dose. I got to take it for 30 days, and then it's supposed to go to a full dose. So I don't know what's going on. It's not that I'm confused. I'm just not feeling very good, out of sorts. Okay, any last shots from you guys?
Remember your brothers and sisters, 22 veterans a day. That's all I have.
Pay attention to the news. Pay attention to what's going on in your area. Situational awareness. Code yellow. I do it every day. You can do it. Take a little practice, but once you get the swing of things, it comes natural. Pay attention to what's going on with your local politicians, your state politicians, especially the anti-gun, any protests against guns or whatever we stand for, the Constitution. And if you have a rally, pro-gun rally, if you make it, go ahead and attend it, show your support. Buy more guns, buy more ammo, stop free war too.
If you have a History Channel in your area, tonight starting at 8 o'clock, which is right about now, there's a documentary on George Washington. It's supposed to be 3 hours, or not 3 hours, 3 nights. I think 2 hours a night for 3 nights. Watch it, and see if it portrays him in a good light or a bad light. Because these new history revisionists are always trying to discredit our founding fathers. And on that note, I do want to say I had to quit one of my medicines because it was causing me some very physical pain. It would start a half hour after I took it, and it was a nighttime dose of insulin. It started about a half hour to 4 or 5 minutes, and it would take about 4 to 5 hours to wear off. And it was terrible. That's all I can do is just explain it. So I quit. They put me on a new one. That's why there's a change. We got to give it a chance to work. But as of today, it was not working very well. So on that note, go sign the Second Amendment sanctuary petition in your state. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Let's bring this up.
That being said, I got sweet apples.
Yeah, me too. As soon as I go.
Big bag shit.
Yeah.
I think I can pour this water here. At least it's not snowing like it was last week. Last week or was the week before? I don't remember.